It's that time of year again to look at the previous year and rank the animated movies from worst to best. Now, to be honest with you, there wasn't a whole lot I hated this year. However, I know many have called this year mediocre in terms of animation, but I disagree. There were a lot of really great films. Sorry I'm late on this one, as I had many big projects upcoming, including some new OMC movies content that'll be coming very, very soon, hopefully. I hope you all enjoyed Pure Apocalypse, by the way, even though that was like 2 months ago. But anyway, there are 33 animated movies this year that I watched, so let's jump right into the list, but wait, I forgot something. There are spoilers up ahead for all these movies. So if you don't want to get spoiled, I suggest either skipping movies you haven't seen, or just click away period if you haven't seen any of these whatsoever. That is all. Even the worst movie of the year didn't exactly infuriate me or make me angry. Paws of Fury is about a dog who wants to become a samurai. It's Blazing Saddles with talking animals and dumbed-down Kung Fu Panda put into one movie. It's just really boring, and no joke in this movie made me laugh, with very lame attempts at humor to me. Not even Samuel L. Jackson could save this movie, and he's a great actor. Please tell me the reason this movie ever released. It went through production hell, and for some time it took to create this movie. It didn't do itself any favors, and the box office performance displays that flawlessly. It played a Big Nate short in front of it that was already weird, and it set the tone for the movie to me. It's just really generic. Kids should be shown something better, not the stupid crap you call a movie. Moving on. Ice Age got a 6th movie that no one asked for at all. It is really boring. I almost couldn't finish it. It follows Buck and Crash and Eddie, and this was supposed to be a TV series. The animation is ass. Crash and Eddie are annoying little shits. Anyways, yeah, this movie isn't good, and stop making the Ice Age franchise, draw itself out. The 5th movie is still the worst one, but there's really nothing to add that hasn't been already said by others. 3 Pinocchio movies came out this year, and I only saw 2 of them. The Netflix one, and the one that was memed to death. I only watched 2 of these movies and didn't bother watching the other one. This live-action remake is insulting to the original, like most of these things. They completely butcher what made the original so special. In fact, it was so bad I had to go to the theater that day and watch something good to balance the good movie with the bad movie, which we will talk about later, but if you wanted to know, it was Dragon Ball Super Superhero. I don't want a copy-pasted story from these live-action remakes, but I also don't want them changing it to a point where it gets butchered. Good examples of good Disney live-action remakes to me are The Jungle Book, Cruella, and Dumbo, which I'm probably biased over. This one is probably the worst Disney live-action remake I watched, and that's serious competition, as I feel like Disney is having a competition to see which classic film they could butcher the most. They better not do it to The Little Mermaid, but I have no hope for that film being good. I didn't like Luck, but I don't hate it as much as many other people in the animation community do. It's about a girl who's really unlucky and goes to a world where there's infinite luck, where she tries to find a lucky penny to give back to her friend who has a collection of lucky stuff. The emotional scenes are laughable, however, and I felt nothing after watching this movie. It's a harmless kids film, but I can't see kids getting themselves along on the journey, and that's a problem. They'll make, cool world building, which I found to be interesting, but if your characters have repeated gags and lame jokes, then this is a problem for your movie, especially if a running gag for the main character is being unlucky. You could be watching worse things than Luck, but it seriously isn't worth your time unless you want something on in the background while you're studying or something like that. Yeah, it's one of those movies. But yeah, I don't advise watching this thing. It's not the worst thing out there, but it's still a pretty bad movie. I've expressed many of my thoughts on this movie in my review for it, so I just suggest checking that out. But all I'll say is this movie feels utterly pointless. The 3rd movie had a good ending where Erica and Drac get married, but no! We have to go through the same character arc again that we have several times with Drac, and it gets annoying. He's afraid of what Johnny will do to the hotel, so he lies to him about some real estate law so he doesn't get the hotel. The two soon enough transform into a monster and human respectively, and get sent to South America to find a crystal that'll get them back to the way they are. The hotel gets destroyed and rebuilt a year later, and yeah, it's a fast movie. I like the beginning of the film, but just go watch the trilogy. It's way better compared to whatever this is. Mid. Moving on. Bubble. How do I describe this one? It's written ludicrously, and my friend Carson and I were watching this on Discord, making fun of it as we were watching because it's so goddamn mediocre. This city holds parkour contests, and they are told to stop until the city traps them inside some big bubble or something like that. The main character meets the bubble girl, whose names I didn't bother to remember, and she dies, by the way. Yeah, she's dead. But before she dies, she gives some generic stock dialogue you hear in several anime movies. The animation's gorgeous. I'll give credit there. But the story is just all over the place. The film feels like it's gonna have a climax when the girl in glasses gets kidnapped, but then it drags on even further for another 20 to 30 minutes. I know Ron's Gone Wrong gets criticized for having 2 climaxes, but it's forgivable because that movie has a reason to exist. Its reason to exist is justified, and it's a really funny movie all around. This isn't a good movie with a plot that throws multiple plot points at you, once without any breathing room. Its writers don't know what this movie wants to be, and I thought this had potential of being good, but I was wrong. I'd recommend watching this for the animation, but that's about it. I'd rather bad animation and good writing rather than a good animation with bad writing movie. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say about it. I didn't hate this as much as other people did. I thought it was somewhat of an improvement over its predecessor and a lot more consistent with writing. I understand people's flaws for it, though, and the live-action movies are superior. Flaws I agree with, as there wasn't a whole lot of build-up to certain events, especially how the party just happens right at the beginning of the movie. However, it doesn't feel like a slideshow of major events in the book just like the last one did, but I don't have anything else to add here that I didn't already say. Drifting Home was cool. Not exactly a favorite, but its story was cool to me, and everything else fell flat. I couldn't get invested in these characters who are stranded at sea after playing in an apartment building. It's just an alright movie, and nothing more can be said, as I pretty much forgot everything I watched by the end of it. I thought the DC League of Super Pets was very serviceable. It's a harmless kids movie that I thought was alright. It's not special to me, but if you're a family with kids, I'd check this out, or if you just really love DC. It had its moments of comedy throughout the whole thing. I thought was pretty funny, like the turtle who swore a lot. I like the dynamic between all the pets in the movie, and all the interactions between them didn't bore me. I went into this thinking it was going to be a bad, generic kids movie, but I was wrong. It's still not the best, however, but I thought it was good enough to satisfy. I don't think I'll be revisiting this anytime soon, though, but I like the idea of superheroes being stripped of their superpowers, in turns the movie took. Some I didn't even expect myself. I know, this placement is going to be very controversial, but it's likely because I haven't watched the series it's based on. Then again, that's not really an excuse because I watched both Dragon Ball movie and One Piece movie this year, without knowing anything about their properties. The movie involves time travel, in which the world was overtaken by Krang. I do like the incarnation of the Turtles, and I am really looking forward to the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie coming out later this year, but for me, there isn't much else to say. Leonardo is my favorite character, though. I enjoyed the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers more than I thought I would. At first, I thought this was going to be a movie where Disney was going to use to market its current products, but it does it in a way where it's not just a celebration of Disney, but all of animation in general. Its meta-humor actually works, unlike a particular cartoon that came out earlier this year that the internet still is ripping on as of writing this video. All the cameos weren't shoved into your face at once, and it's a universe of cartoons being filmed by studios. I thought the idea was interesting. It did a good job defining what meta-humor should be and all the animation styles coming together into one. It parodies tropes such as the twist villain trope, and it didn't make it annoying, more so funny as Chip even points out how cliché it is. Peter Pan being the villain also was very funny as he runs some mafia within the world all these people live in. I wonder how Disney managed to get all these characters in. It wasn't my favorite movie though, but I still had a really fun time regardless. Pompo the Cinephile was a decent flick. It's about Pompo, who's a film fanatic who makes B-movies. There's also Jean, who aspires to be a film director, and the movie shows the dark side of Hollywood, which is what this movie is inspired by. Her grandfather's the reason for her love of her movies. It has a lot of strong attributes to its name, but its story is where it falls flat to me, where everything else shines through. I go a bit more in depth with this in my review for it, so go check it out if you wish. Strange World is Disney's new animated feature, and it sadly bombed at the box office like most sci-fi Disney films do. However, I thought the movie was decent, but I was a bit disappointed with this one. The trailers made the movie look like it'll be one big adventure, but it mostly took place in the same area. Strange World should be a wake-up call to Disney to add more villains to their movies, and I really hope with Wish coming out later this year, it'll have a threatening foe. While Strange World is harmless in its own right, I still think it could have been a lot better than it was. The story feels typical with some original elements and its twist caught me off guard. At least, but it's not as big as the trailers make it look. This generational trauma thing with Disney has run its course to me after turning red, and it's time for something new. Don't go back to twist villains either, please. Although I still had a fun time watching the film, it could have been better than it was. Beavis and Butthead are back. There's a series on Paramount Plus as well I haven't finished, so I didn't review that, but the movie that came out was as funny as the show. I like the idea of Beavis and Butthead going to space camp and how they go back in time. Yeah, this plot was insane. How the deep state was looking through them. It's a fun story. I don't have much to add than what was said in my review, so feel free to watch that as well. The sequel to the first Minions movie came out as a surprise to me in terms of how it slammed its predecessor to the ground. This is peak fiction, and you can't tell me otherwise. Jokes aside, I actually really thought this movie was good. A lot of toilet humor was removed, and though the story played it safe like most Illumination movies, I had an entertaining time and genuinely laughed at quite a few of the jokes. The Minions weren't annoying, and I liked how the story was more focused on Gru and his relationship with Wild Knuckles, as well as the dynamic between him and the Vicious Six, how he went from loving them to now being against them. I feel like this is a step in the right direction for Illumination movies considering the Mario movie that came out, which I already have done a review on. But yeah, good work, Illumination. Please keep it up. Wendell and Wild was funny. I enjoyed its stylized stop-motion and its two titular characters are the star of the show. Henry Selick is a legend in the stop-motion animation industry, with films like Coraline, which is undoubtedly the scariest animated movie for kids out there. We also have a girl named Kat who deals with a tragedy that happened in her life. It's a fun world filled with humans and demons, and the father of the two likes to torture demons at his own fare. While Wendell and Wild didn't do anything, While Wendell and Wild want to do anything they can to make a fair. It's a fun animated movie that you'll definitely have a blast with. And sorry for some of my errors here. After giving it more and more thought, I don't think Lightyear is as good as I initially thought it was. The twist is convoluted as hell, with Zurg being evil Buzz doesn't make any sense. And while I don't hate the movie as much as many others do, it has quite a few flaws. From what I gave it a 9 out of 10, it's bumped down to a 7. The action is fun in my opinion, and Socks is the best part about the movie. He's funny, and I kinda wish the movie to be more on Buzz and Socks. The side characters are where its weak point is, and the fact it's Andy's favorite movie, which honestly should have been in the marketing. I still believe this was a welcome back to theaters Pixar, and can't wait to see how Elemental plays out. Even if it did underperform, it's still a fun time for me at least. I know many others would disagree though. As my love for being a weeb like the anime fan I am, I decided to go watch One Piece Film Red without knowing shit about One Piece. I've never watched a single episode of One Piece and still had a great time watching the movie. I know, you all can go rage in the comments or whatever, but still, the story was captivating and I managed to stay invested the whole time, which I was scared about when seeing this movie. I mostly went because my favorite English cover artist and VTuber, Amelie, well maybe not favorite VTuber, that award goes to Rin Penrose, but she was voicing Uda, point proven. The new character, and when I heard that, I knew I had to see it. It's about Luffy and his childhood friend, Uda, reunite with one another and she has a gift, her voice. The movie has many excellent musical performances, with my favorite being New Genesis, which was the opening songs of the film. This is likely the biggest anime event of the year due to the high praise in Japan and America for this movie, and I can say I wholeheartedly enjoyed the film. I was never thrown off or confused just by knowing nothing about the show, but sadly, it didn't convince me to go back and watch every episode, so this movie will suffice. Just like One Piece, I barely knew anything about Dragon Ball, but had a great time watching. It had an information dump at the beginning of the film, and I liked the stylized animation for the movie a lot. In fact, I welcome it. Goku takes a backseat here, and it relies on Gohan as the film's main character, along with Piccolo. We also get a villain who's entertaining as hell and wants to revive the Red Ribbon Army, and wants to kill the Z Fighters and take over the world. All the villains here are great, and every character feels like they have an appropriate amount of screen time. The film's pacing for the most part is solid, except for the climax, which gets dragged out too long for my liking, which is the fight against Cell Max. But I can't complain too much, as this truly was something fun for noobs like myself. And this is also everything Dragon Ball fans will be looking for. It was a lot of fun watching the action and small slice-of-life bits as well. I was genuinely surprised with how much I liked this movie. although it's only here on the list because the other movies I loved more than this one. The prequel to the beloved anime series Jujutsu Kaisen was great. This takes place before Itadori came into the picture, but everyone else from Gojo to Toge to Maki are here. The story was fun, the villain is great, and honestly, I prefer the protagonist, Yuta, over Itadori if you want my honest answer. I don't know how hot of a take that is, but yeah, I like the movie about the same as I like the show. I believe you could watch this without knowing anything about Jujutsu Kaisen, but I could go wrong. Everything else I have to say about it is in my review, which I made a while ago. For a Netflix animated movie, the Sea Beast's animation looks really good. The story is about how the king and queen want all the sea monsters executed by famous monster hunters. We meet one who is kind, however, called the Red Bluster, which the main heroes try to protect from various hunters. I really love all the work put into this movie. The art for it really makes the colors pop out at you, and the journey itself is a great one. I highly recommend this one. But I do like other Netflix films more, such as one we'll get into in a bit, but I don't have much to say about the Sea Beast that hasn't been said by many other reviewers, so we are gonna move on. DreamWorks killed it this year with their 2 movies. Sadly, this one's the more inferior one, but it isn't bad at all. The characters and heist scenes are really fun, and I love the animation style. It looks a lot better in 3D, and clearly took inspiration from Spider-Verse. Much like Puss in Boots 2, which we'll get to on the list later on. Props to the animation department here, seriously, it's really good. The story's a bit formulaic and predictable, and it even features a twist villain that's honestly really predictable, but not as predictable as that bald scientist dude from the Addams Family too. Although I am glad they didn't reveal the villain right at the very end. We got to see some villainous actions from him, but the way they do it is just predictable, it's right on the spot. I like the bad guys' dynamic and redemption arc they go through within the movie, and I like how at the end, because a lot of people didn't point this out, they actually turn themselves in, whereas most animated movies would let the bad guy get off scot-free because they redeem themselves. Isn't that a little bit nice, guys? It's a nice little ending, and honestly, I expect a sequel for this movie. I bet there will be just by the credits scene. We have now entered my top 10 for the year. Spoiler alert, most of these are gonna be anime movies. Anyway, Turning Red stood as an outlier to Disney and Pixar's movies this year among both Lightyear and Strange World. I loved Turning Red and watched it twice the day it premiered on Disney+. I was genuinely shocked at how good this movie was, and I cried. While it is another generational trauma story, it's a good one at that, and I really love the anime-inspired art style. The movie still has flaws, like the twerking panda scene with May, but there's so much to love about this movie, from the more cartoonish art style, to its message, to its characters, everything just seems to work. I loved the movie and couldn't stop praising it when it was released. I love how May turned into a panda was the equivalent of having a period, but then she started using her panda as exploitation to gain cash for concert tickets. There weren't a lot of real stakes here, and that's fine. Aside from the mom finding out she's a panda and the scene where Ming went to the convenience store about May's drawing will always get me to laugh. I underestimated this movie greatly, and did the same to Soul and Encanto. I ended up praising them a lot, and I was glad. Go see this if you haven't. I enjoyed Sonic the Hedgehog 2 more than I did enjoy the first one. Even though the first one was good, we got more of a focus on Sonic rather than the humans, although their scenes were good too. We got Tails and Knuckles in the movie as well, and they both were great additions to the cast. This felt more faithful to the games, with Sonic having to get an Emerald Crystal before Robotnik does. The adventure here is exciting and had me on the edge of the seat the entire time. I actually went to an early screening for this, funny enough, before it was even released to the public. The credits scene also made everyone scream and clap at the screening I went to. Can't wait for Sonic 3. I don't even know if I can pronounce this correctly, but Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but it's a really, really good movie. It's a musical and a good take on Pinocchio, which, goddamn, there has been a lot of Pinocchio movies this year, and this one is scarily good. It's stop motion and probably some of the best stop motion I've seen. Despite it being rated PG, I say this film definitely isn't for kids and more for adults. The ending is sad. All I'll say is someone dies, but I won't get into who. Pinocchio this time has an ability where he's immortal, but with a twist. When he dies, he has to stay in some place for a certain amount of time before he can live again. Now I know this one won Academy Awards for Best Animated Picture, but out of the options, I wanted Puss in Boots to win. But this is a good second choice. Plus, a Disney Pixar film didn't win this time, which is really refreshing. Also, my tweet on predicting Lightyear to be the winner certainly didn't age well at all, as it wasn't even nominated. Anyway, go check this movie out. You'll love it. Please do. It's no surprise this one is near the top. Sorry to all of you who thought this would have been my favorite movie of the year. I love this one more than I thought. I thought I was going to, because at first I thought, a Puss in Boots sequel? Well, no, I didn't think I would, but that doesn't make sense. What am I saying, guys? I thought I wasn't going to love it as much as I did, because I thought, like, a Puss in Boots sequel? Isn't it too late for that? Well, DreamWorks really gave us a treat, and I can safely say this is my favorite CGI movie of the year. No doubt about that. The villains are great. I know Death is the fan favorite of the bunch, but I'm more of a Jack Horner guy. It tells a mature story about appreciating life and how death comes for all of us, and doesn't try to sugarcoat any of its messages. It's very direct. I watched this in 3D, and it looks spectacular with the style it had, being inspired by Spider-Verse. One minor nitpick I had in my review about how I thought Goldilocks' art could have been handled better than it was, but it's really just a nitpick and that's it. I had a fun time watching its colorful visuals alongside its exceptionally mature story it wanted to tell. The Shrek 5 tease at the end as well. I'm looking forward to what's next in Puss in Boots' journey, as his one to find the wishing star has ended. Alright, now you might be asking yourself, why is this at number 6? I'll just say right now that Takagi-san is a very comforting anime of mine. It's always fun watching Takagi and Nishikata playing games with each other and teasing one another, with the final summer before high school taking place. We also see a subplot between the other set of protagonists throughout the series, wanting to make the most of their summer, believing the three will be separated. The main plot, though, is that Takagi finds a lost kitten, and she and Nishikata agree to track down its owner and take care of it. I like the movie more than the series, in fact. It's just a really fun time overall and a nice relaxing film to put on. The movie did make me cry, and of course, had a nice ending song to top off the adorable charm the show has. I wasn't ready to say goodbye to Fruits Basket. I can say that for sure. I love the show and I love this movie. I couldn't tell you which one I liked more. The movie serves as a prequel to the series where we meet Toru's parents, although the beginning had a recap of everything that happened in the series. We learn more about her mother, which if you've seen the show, you'd know how badly the loss of her mother affected her as a person. We learn her mom was a rebel and her dad was a teacher. When meeting him is what caused her mother to stop being so rebellious. I cried during the movie and even waved goodbye to the show when it was all over. It was a nice way to end the series, and I'm gonna miss this show, along with our next entry. I also said goodbye to the quintessential quintuplets in 2022, with the movie ending with deciding which quintuplet Futaro was going to marry. He marries my favorite of the Nakano sisters, that being Yotsuba. I love every single interaction in the movie, and I also loved how it showed the festival from each quintuplet's perspective to make each of the 5 options plausible for Futaro to win. Whether it be Ichika, Nino, Miku, Yotsuba, or Itsuki, he had to choose one, and that one was Yotsuba. The opening and ending songs to the movie were also really nice, and it truly showed the series at its heart. This is the best thing to come from the series, and I wasn't ready to say goodbye. I brought my Yotsuba plush to the theater, actually. I was excited to watch the thrilling conclusion of this show, and it was proven to be a satisfying one. I still don't understand why fans were so torn on this ending. It literally makes sense. I understand the show isn't for everyone, as I don't know anyone who's down to watch any harem, even though I'm picky with harem anime. This was the first one I enjoyed wholeheartedly. I came out of the theater crying to Belle. It was seriously so delicious. It's a unique story and its very heavily emotional moments make me bawl inside the theater. I seriously loved it that much. The movie's visuals were breathtaking, and I knew this was an easy top 5 film for movies of the year. This was the first movie I saw in the theater of 2022, and I was impressed with everything. I came out of the theater crying at what I saw. It's so beautiful, and I love how they handled the visual sharing site, and this girl hides her identity online with her songs. It's all wonderful. It's like if Beauty and the Beast took place on the internet. I said more in my review about this movie, but yeah, please go check it out. When the trailer got announced for Sing a Bit of Harmony, I immediately wanted to see the movie. It follows an AI high school girl used as a test inside of a real school named Shion, her and the protagonist, Satame, have to hide the fact she's an AI. But once students around her figure out the truth, they have to hide the experiment from her mom before things go even more haywire as she might lose her job. It's also a musical whose songs are very catchy, and I would hum along to them. It gives me Disney musical vibes. It's one of my all-time favorite anime movies, and I wish more people saw this movie. It's really, really good, and I love the duo between Shion and Satsumi. Please go see this if you haven't. As a shock to absolutely no one, the Bob's Burgers movie topped my entire 22 list of both animation, not just animation, but movies of the entire year. I'm serious. I waited for this movie to come out forever, and I was glad I finally got to go see it. It's hilarious. I laughed throughout the whole movie, and this time, the stakes are higher than ever. Louise is solving a murder to save Bob's restaurant after a massive sinkhole opened up in front of the entrance. She goes inside the hole and discovers a body that was murdered 6 years ago. In my review, I didn't specify who the murderer was, but they think that it's Felix who did the murder. In reality, it was Grover, Callan and Felix's lawyer and cousin, who explains he wants to build a megapark in the place of the wharf. We also get some really good musical numbers to go alongside this fun story. And while not every single Bob's Burgers character is here, all my favorites play a major role, and I've rewatched this film about 6 times after I saw it in theaters. Yes, I loved it that much. Please, I encourage all of you to watch this wonderful movie. Even if you haven't watched Bob's Burgers, it's really good. You need no knowledge of the show to understand it. Trust me when I say you'll have a great time. I also love the animation upgrade it got for the big screen. Yeah, that's all I saw for this year. If I missed a movie or anything, please let me know. And know that Russian Pinocchio movie doesn't count, as I refuse to watch that to spare my brain cells. This was a fun year for animation, that's for sure. It looks like 2023 will be a big year for animation. We got Mario, Spider-Verse 2, Elemental, Wish, and even a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie coming our way. Bye everyone, and have a good day.